Hey everyone, this is Jesse with Game Infinite, and I'm really excited. We have another episode of State of Gaming. This time we have Lightspeed Gaming joining us today. You've seen him before, he's been on previous episodes of State of Gaming. We've done a lot of talks about video games and Mass Effect and lots of things like that. We got some fun topics to discuss today, and I'm really excited for this one. It's great to be back here on State of Gaming. Bro, why don't you introduce yourself? I know you've been here before, and some people have seen you in some of our previous conversations. But tell us a little bit about what it is you do and what type of content creator you are. And before we get into the main topics, just kind of refresh some of our viewers
Huh,
who you are.
yeah, sure thing. Yeah, well, I'm in TS Handler. My channel is Lightspeed Stream on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm mainly right now doing videos, making videos like breakdowns like of The Last of Us Part Two. I'm doing like each episode, each level each week on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. And something brand new I'm doing right now. See if like I'm gonna see if it's gonna work. Give a flow of it as well too, and just looking why the game is so the story is so great in the game. It's like kind of like almost like a docu series in a way, and that's what I've been mainly working on there. And I do occasionally live stream. Lately, I haven't lately due to my internet connection, the having not hardwired things like that. Let's say different hardware issues per se. So that's why I've been kind of focusing on the video aspects of uploading videos on YouTube and going from there and giving that a try. So, but live streams, everyone's interested going.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, man. It's good to have you back on on our little show podcast, State of Gaming. It's great to have you back. We have some fun
Thanks
topics
for
to
having me
discuss
back.
today. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would love to just talk about. We're not going to spend too much time talking about Last of Us because we had some other topics planned. But I definitely think a Last of Us conversation would be a lot of fun because
Oh
I
yeah.
honestly could probably talk about that off the cuff for an hour.
Oh no,
No
it's
prep.
a very deep story. So yeah,
The
absolutely.
Last of Us, one of the things that I like, I'll give my 2 cents and then we'll move
Mhm,
on.
yeah.
For me, The Last of Us is what's so unique about it, and this could be like a tease for maybe when we do finally sit down and talk about this, but The Last of Us, I think, is so special to me because to this day, both part 1 and part 2 both have done things that I've never seen another game do, and that's something that really stood out to me. Last of Us 2 Last of Us 1 is such an iconic story, but Last of Us 2 plays with more of that where they do unique things that there's some specific narrative decisions that I've never seen done in another game or other story before that just made it so special to me. And that's why I don't know, those are some special games. We could talk for a whole hour about The Last of Us.
Well, yeah, no, no, that's what makes the game so great because it's very unique in its storytelling that like you haven't seen it before, and it's all depending who you, because it did get some backlash on the story on how it went,
Yeah.
but however, that's what makes this game great because they took risks on what no other video game has done, and yeah, that's one of the things that stood out to me as well too. So that's why I keep playing it, and plus the gameplay of the game is phenomenal as well too. So yeah, so that I think it did very well as well too. They're right now. I think they have some ideas maybe for a part three, but I know they're focusing on the show series right now.
I think we're going to see a resurgence of a lot of the criticism and people who never played the games now experiencing the story of part two
That's
in the show. So we're just going to see like the second wave of hatred and criticism. Like it was very divisive. I've always said
it.
that when I remember, I think the Last of Us Part Two review that I did was the longest review I've ever done, and it's the only like part review I've ever done where I was like I had to do like a non spoiler review and a spoiler review where I was just like there's so much part of the story that's relevant, but I didn't want to spoil anything. So that's the only like two-parter review I've ever done. It was very long.
Well,
It,
pretty much people saw the leaks on that.
yeah, it was one of those things where I understand where some people are coming from when it comes to some of the criticisms of those games, especially the part two, where the story went with number two. And I think we're going to see that come back because from what we understand, they're really not changing much from for the second and third seasons of The Last of Us. They might stretch it out more. They're definitely
Right.
yeah, they're definitely going to cover. multiple seasons with the story, they're gonna have to. They don't want there's no way to get through all of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I see that right there. Like, they're probably gonna do 2 more seasons. They haven't
Yeah,
announced it yet, but they're probably gonna make some changes as well, but too, because in the first Last of Us season, there's an episode they did a complete, story change, which
and that was
worked
really good.
very well. That was
That was
very
such a
good.
good episode. There was one of those things where that was, like, the most original part of the show that wasn't in the original game at all, and that was one of the best episodes, and that was a very good episode.
It
Um,
was.
so I would love to see them take more opportunities to just take time with the story and tell other little side stories like that. I want them to do that again. I really think that the one thing I've always argued about The Last of Us Part 2, I know we don't have to spend too much more on this, but,
Yeah.
the one thing I would say the thing that I don't think people get if you didn't like this is my controversial opinion. If you don't like The Last of Us Part 2, if you don't like the story and some of the specific specific narrative choices that they did, then I feel like you might miss the point of the game that made it so special. And what I mean by that is like how they handle the perspective changes between Abby and Ellie and how much time you spend, and I don't want to spoil it too much. I don't want to get into it too much, but
R
it's one of those things where I feel like there's something very uniquely done that I don't want to share here because I'll go on a I'll,
r
we'll be talking about this for an hour.
right, yeah, yeah, no,
But
no,
I think yeah,
I totally get where you're getting at right there. It's just when those leaks happen, people just heard the story points, like the cutscenes, and nothing in between those where like, oh, this actually makes sense. Because when those leaks came out, I stick my head in a rock in the ground. I did not want to hear a thing about. All I heard is like, oh, I'm canceling my pre-order, my pre-order. I'm not dealing with this. Like they destroyed the game and everything. Like the
I
game
was
has
lucky and I
been
didn't have
released.
anything leaked or anything for me. The big twist that happens near the beginning of the game
Hmm.
definitely shocked me and surprised me, and I thought that's why everyone hated the game so much, but it
That
just
was one of the reasons.
that was one of the big ones, but it was
Yeah.
like there's something unique that they pull off, and I don't wanna get into it. We need to have a whole Last of Us
Yeah,
conversation.
no, we can have a whole Last of Us round. Also, I'm saying it's a great game, and that's why I've
Mhm.
been working.
So, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to rabbit trail us off on The Last of Us because that could easily be a whole topic of its own. We need to plan we need to remember that. Maybe next episode, we'll plan and prep for Last of Us being a part of it.
Mhm.
So for those of you watching, sorry for me getting off topic. I jump at a chance to talk about any game. But we do have pre-planned episode topics that we prepped for, so I want to make sure we get to them. um, so okay, so let's start out. Let's just dive in. Question one, um, kind of prep build up for it is there's been a lot of adaptations lately. And I think this is actually kind of a decent segue because we got The Last of Us.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
Last of Us is, in my opinion, the best video game adaptation ever made. The show so far has been fantastic. But we got some other things I put down here. I was like, adaptations could be a lot of things. It could be the transition from small screen to big screen. It could be the transition of animes. Like this would be like an anime or a gaming topic. The transition of animes from anime to live action, or just the adaptation of game to show and movie. So like, just it could be kind of anywhere. So I mentioned a couple of recent examples. Spy Family's come to the big screen. Netflix's Avatar has surprisingly be a success. Apparently, if they remake enough animes, eventually one of them will be decent. Apparently it's pretty good. I actually haven't watched it yet, but
I
the new
haven't watched it
Fallout
yet
TV show
either.
dropped like yesterday. Supposedly it's pretty good so far. Haven't watched that one yet,
Actually, I think it might have dropped today.
or maybe today.
I think it could have. I want to say it was today, probably, because I started seeing reviews popping up
The nice thing
today.
is by the time this gets up, it'll be sometime.
It
It'll
will
be
be, yeah. If it, I would say, I
for
think it
those of you
came out.
watching, it is definitely out.
Yeah, it's already out.
We got a bunch. So just basically on the theme, main question, topic number one. Can you name an anime and or video game? You get to pick both. You can do one or the other that you would like to see come to film or TV show. So a categorical transition of from what they are to what they could be. What is something that you would like to see in the anime world or gaming world that you would like to see come to? And I'm gonna make them. I'm gonna
Mhm.
make an impromptu
Right.
premise because I think both you and I maybe have the same answer for number one. is
Right.
besides Mass Effect. You and I are
Yeah.
both hardcore Mass
Uh,
Effect fans, and if
right.
we don't wanna spend the next half hour talking about Mass Effect, let's do besides Mass Effect, because I think
If it's
that's an obvious answer for both of us.
right.
Because I could talk about that one for an hour, about who I'd wanna cast and why it needs to be the why it should be bigger than Avatar, and why it needs to be the biggest TV show and franchise, and why EA's sleeping on it. I don't understand. But anyways, besides Mass Effect, what is an anime or a game that you would like to see come to film or TV?
Oh man. See. For an anime for come film TV here. So let's see, because one honest well, actually they already did the TVs. Like I only saw a few episodes of it. It wasn't very good, which was the Halo series. Like I only saw like
We
here's the
could talk
thing is
about
like
Halo.
yeah.
We could talk
Well,
about
yeah,
Halo.
no, we can always go off and on
Mhm.
this, but because like I was thinking a couple, like I know one's definitely the Mass Effect one. Like I know, big hardcore fan, but granted, they did do an anime movie called Paragon Lost of Mass Effect,
That was
and
not bad.
it was actually good. I
Yeah,
actually really enjoyed that one
I'd
right
like more
there.
of those. They should make an anime series while they're working on the next game. Like
Well, it's just not just that, it's also how it's written as well too.
mhm,
That, like, it felt like in the universe was, like, not contradicting, like, "Oh, it was a male shepherd or a female shepherd." It still stayed in the rules of the universe, which actually
mhm.
worked out
They
quite
balanced
well.
it
Yes,
well.
they balanced it well. Um, but it's but like doing I'm just hoping, man, like they do something like a live action show series, but maybe like a quality of The Last of Us, just like getting the writing right and think
Mhm.
because
If they
the
mess
one
it up,
thing
I would be so
it,
bad.
oh, I'll be mad as hell because
I'd
here's the thing,
riot.
like with these adaptations that are coming out, like right now, like with Fallout, I think it has like a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is incredible right away. As charged, checking out some reviews saying that this show is great, and they're comparing to almost to the Last of Us show series, which I'm actually really blown away. I haven't really played much of Fallout,
Same.
but I've seen the visuals and the um, of the show series. It looked really, it did look enticing, but I just need to see more good quality of adaptations coming out of video games in particular because they have that video game curse where they come out and it's crap. It's slowly turning around, so we got a win for Last of Us. I don't know about Fallout right now, but based on the reviews, I'm going, okay, that might be a win right there. So, but okay, now like for like anime, because usually with there's occasionally anime kind of like a little bit every now and then, but nothing too much of anime I usually do watch. But for a particular game, trying to think of like when. Oh, you know what? This could be a really good anime. Wolfenstein. Have you ever played the
That's cool.
Wolfenstein games?
That's a
Like,
good
okay,
idea. So
those
you
games.
you would wanna make a Wolfenstein, like, anime.
Yeah,
That's
that see
pretty sick. I like that.
with the gore and the blood, I mean, you could go bonkers
That's a
with
good
it.
choice. That's
That
that's such a
like
wacky series.
it is, and it's like an alternate future. Like, oh, well, we lost World War II, Nazis
Mhm.
take over, and the weird tech that they have, even the Futurama thing that they did in the second one, where your head's in a jar,
Mhm.
and that's how they bring it back to life. Put your head in a new body. You're going that game would be perfect for anime right there.
Okay, I love that idea. I love that pitch because for me, one of my favorite weird niche narrative archetypes is alternate World War II. I love anything like alternate World War II, especially the what if we lost or sci-fi world, like
Oh
any
yeah,
type that puts a spin on that. One of my favorite episodes of Star Trek did what if aliens helped the Nazis and they altered World War II. Like it was
I
such
know.
a good episode.
Oh, I need to see that
It's
episode.
it's a
Oh man.
two-parter of Star Trek Enterprise. Essentially, they get thrown back in time. There are these aliens helping the Germans win, and they have to stop them. It's a time travel alien World War II alternate history. It's so good. So when it's done well, it can be very exciting. But
Mhm.
I love you I like your pitch of, like, because Wolfenstein is was are they're really fun games. I love alternate World War II. I want more of that. I want more games because we get World War II a lot. We don't get alternate World War II very often. Um,
It's
there's
definitely like it's definitely like it's one way to kind of how you can view like, okay, what could have happened.
Mhm,
It's like one way you can experiment and see what could have happened that if we did. And I think that's what we're kind of fascinated by it because I would be very curious, like what happened if we actually did. Will it
mhm.
be a total shit show here?
There's so many good opportunities for alternate World War II stories. It's such a cool premise that I, like, instantly wanna try anything that touches it. Like, I'll like, I give it more tries than it deserves. Like, for example, I really, really, really tried to get into a show called The Man in the High Castle. It's
Yes,
based on
I saw
yeah,
that.
it's
Mhm.
on Amazon Prime, and I've
Right.
tried to watch it, like, 4 times, and it's one of the it's like, it has such a cool premise, but the show is so boring.
It
Like,
yeah, I watched a couple episodes of it. Like I did like the premise of it,
yeah, it's
but
a
it's like
really cool premise. Like
mhm, but it
like
does
our
drag on a
timeline,
little
like,
bit.
exists somehow, and they're in their timeline, they know about it, and, like, there's this mystery, and, like, it's fascinating. The show is incredibly boring. Like, it just follows, like, these nobody people on a journey, and for, like I watched, like I finally after, like, on my 4th attempt, I finally got about halfway into season 2, and when I tell you, nothing happens.
Oh my really?
Like, like, it is the slowest of slow burns. Now, if someone watching this is like, "Oh, it gets good in season 3 or whatever," fine. But I've tried, like, 4 times to get into this show, and every time I get a little bit farther, and I'm just at, like,
Ye
the end of season 1, there is, like, this really cool, like, moment where, like, one of the characters is, like, talking to, like, capital H himself,
mhm.
um
Oh, yeah. Mhm,
and like there's like is he gonna kill him is it not and then there's this like really weird scene where like one of the other characters temporarily finds himself in our timeline for like half a second somehow so like it's intriguing but then like not like I don't know so like
mhm.
I love alternative World War II especially when you make sci-fi elements in it so I would be 110% there for a Wolfenstein anime. Do you have any other selections or picks that you'd like to
Ah,
shout out in there?
um, see, I'm trying to think, oh man, what other games do I have right now? I got so many games, been trying to play them. Um, well, you know what? There actually, what could probably be another good anime is Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, would I think they're making a movie on Death
Aren't they
Stranding. I think he's announced that he's trying to make
did he?
like, yeah,
Oh,
Hideo
okay.
Kojima is he's a big film guy, like,
Mhm.
he's working on like, he has, like, 2 projects in the works, and he has it
Right, he's working
as,
on
like
some,
yeah.
yeah, he's working something at Columbia Pictures right now.
I'm
Uh,
pretty sure he's already announced that they're working on something. I wanna say
they are
it's with
working on some I don't know
I'm
if
gonna
it's
look
with
it up real
Death
quick.
Stranding. Yeah, okay, because
I'm gonna
here,
look it up. I'm pretty sure. I'm, like, 87% sure.
I know it's just I don't know what project did he announce at Columbia, because I know they're coming out with a Death Stranding 2 game,
Okay, so this
but
was reported back this is actually
mhm.
this is why I'm remembering it. So this is, reported from IGN. According to IGN, back in December of last year, Death Stranding movie is coming from A24.
Oh,
They
it is?
they
Oh,
make a
man.
bunch of, like, really, like, artsy they're
They actually just
too
made
artsy.
Civil War that's coming out this weekend.
That's their biggest movie yet, and I can't wait for that. That
Mhm.
movie looks awesome. Like, it's
It
weird
does.
and cool, and I can't wait to watch it. But yeah,
It's
they're
been getting
apparently
good
they're making a Death Stranding.
reviews.
What
So,
was that?
okay, so they're making a Death Stranding movie. Oh, wow. How did I miss that? Crap.
I think it's because he has, like, so many projects that he's working on, and they all have weird names, and it's just, like, I don't know, like, he has some weird stuff
True.
in
Well,
the
then
oven.
that's true, but then again, they're also coming out with Death Stranding 2. Man, I
Mhm.
got mixed up with that one right there. But I
Oh,
knew he was
don't
doing
even get me
some
started
kinda
on the Death Stranding 2 trailer. That trailer made me sick. That trailer made me nauseous. Like, it is, like, such an uneasy thing to watch. Like, the part of the trailer where it's, like, the little I don't know
uh,
what they call it, the little suction cup things that are squirting blood. Just thinking about it
oh!
makes me
Oh,
uneasy.
leeches?
No, no, it was like the
Okay.
character has like these little like
Bugs.
kinda like what an octopus like the little suction
Oh, yeah,
cups,
uh-huh,
what they leave behind on
yeah.
your skin, it had they had that all over
Oh,
them, and they're, like,
oh,
leaking out little black pus, and it was, like, the most
oh, now
disgusting
I know what you're
trailer I've
talking about.
ever
Yeah.
seen, and it made me so and I'm like, "I am not going to play this game, nope." I didn't like Death Stranding, I'm not going to watch the movie. I don't like his like, no, no, I ain't want no, this trailer, I'm like, "No, I'm sorry." I watched the trailer and I actually recorded a reaction video for it, but I didn't, I messed it up and I didn't upload it because 'cause I'm just like, "No, no, it's too bad." It was too bad, because it's such
Oh,
a
man.
weird trailer. I am not a Death Stranding fan. Anyone who likes it, that's fine, y'all are allowed to like it, but I have been avid from day one that I don't like Death Stranding. I didn't get it, I don't understand the premise, I was like, I don't it was so weird, and
It is a weird game.
I like weird sci-fi. This was like dream logic sci-fi where I'm like, I don't even think Hideo Kojima could explain what the hell is going on in that oh my gosh.
Well, you know, for some
Exploding
reason
babies and you
yeah,
die
oh,
kind of
yeah.
and people go into nuclear bombs and it's like oh I'm like, what the fuck is this game about?
I know, there was some weird shit in that game. But, like, with that game, like, every time I play it, you know what? I feel so relaxed because, yeah, I know it's a walking simulator,
Mhm.
but during the journey, it's just like, "Man, this is actually just relaxing for me," to be
No, no,
honest.
I see, my game time is way too valuable. I do not play games that disrespect my time, and this is exact I'll tell you exactly what that game did that made me stop and never play it again.
Uh,
It made me walk for 2 hours. Maybe it was 1 hour, I don't remember. This was a couple years ago. It made me walk somewhere for, like, at least an hour. I'm just slowly waddling there, and absolutely nothing happened in that whole hour. It's just me walking. It's literally just pushing the
really?
thumbstick for an hour, and then I finally get there, and they're like, "Here's your package. Turn around and go exactly back to where you came from." And I am like, "Fuck that." And I turned the game off, and I never played it again. I'm like, maybe it
Oh,
wasn't an hour. Maybe it felt like an hour. I don't know, but it just made me
but it
walk for
could
an
have felt like
ungodly
an hour because, like
it just made me walk for an ungodly lengthy period of time where nothing happened and you're just waddling around trying to not fall, and it gives you a package
I
and the mission was turn around and go back to where you came, and I'm just like, "No, no, I don't like this game. I don't understand it." It was so pretty though, I do give it that
it
it's visually impressive. I
I
just
think
don't
that's what
understand what's going on, and
uh, I think that's one of the reasons why I really liked it because it was very visually stunning,
it is
and
very
then
visually
the
impressive.
mhm,
In fact, I'm actually working on an article right now. It may be live before this
mhm,
video goes up, so I don't know those of you watching,
okay,
um,
mhm,
check the website, see if it's up there. So I'm working on the next 5 games article. 5 games is a series that we do where I pitch game ideas. It's my little fun
oh,
article series where it's basically I pick a theme and I pitch games. And I go into
mm,
detail something that I like a lot. And the most recent one is basically I'm pitching Unreal 5 remasters. Basically, I pick 5 games that I wanna see get remade or remastered in Unreal 5 because Unreal 5 is just, like, super powerful, and there's actually, like I've been researching just, like, some of the things that have come out for Unreal 5, and, like,
alright,
there's some it is insane how visually impressive that, that engine can be. In fact, it was only, like, a month ago that they dropped of, a tech demo of one of the most realistic and I might actually I might if I remember, I'm gonna try to put that behind us while I'm talking about it, but it was one of the most visually impressive character models I've ever seen. Like, it is crazy just how in just within less than a year's time, just how much better the human model has gotten in Unreal 5.
mhm,
So, like, I think we're gonna see more and more games that look as good as Death Stranding, if not better. And I think I'm
I
just
can
very
see
excited
that,
about this, like, super
that
hyper realistic future because they can make really impressive environments. If you compare that with just, like, super ridiculously realistic character models, I'm there for that.
yeah, and what on that note, because I think there's this one game have you heard of the Lego set Bionicle?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I was big
there's
when we were
actually
little.
oh, yeah, no, I was a big fan, and there's actually a fan-made game coming out called, I think, Bionicle Mask of Power, fan-made, and I think they're using Unreal Engine 5. They got a trailer and a gameplay footage out. It looks incredible.
It
It
is insane
actually
with that
looks
game,
like a brick, like
with
the
that
bricks of
engine.
the pieces,
Mhm.
and also the environment as well too. Like it honestly, I'll be totally convinced that even Lego even made the game. Like that's how good looking that game is.
We just covered, an indie game that's a solo developer, called iCode that
Hmm.
honestly, if someone told you that it was just another, like, Final Fantasy Mirror-esque game from Square Enix, you believe it because it looks just as good. Like, it looks like, the fact that one dude can build, like, a AAA looking game is
Hmm.
insane, um, partly because he's extremely talented, but I'm not trying to discredit like take that away from him. He's incredibly talented what he's pulled off with that game. But just it's just really cool to see that the technology is evolving. That we're going to be able to see more indie devs pull off AAA looking games, and AAA can look like something that's just never existed before. So it's cool
Right.
to see the technology allowing the gaming industry to shift forward a little bit to where what one person can build will look like this, and then what AAA with AAA budgets can build will look like that. And it's just I'm just very excited for the
Oh,
future of games.
it's oh yeah, no, that is very mind blowing.
Let's move on to the next topic. What's a new game you've been playing lately? What's been on your watch list lately that you've been occupying your gaming hours?
So one was actually I played Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora.
Oh, how was that? I didn't get a chance to try that out.
That game was actually quite fun. It
Yeah,
is like it's like Far Cry, but for nature
it's
lovers.
blue Far Cry. Far Cry.
Yeah, yeah, Blue Far
Far
Cry.
Far Cry Blue Edition.
Exactly. So like, yeah, it does get a little repetitive, but you go to outpost, take take down the refinery and and what's really nice about it,
The
you
Assassin's
go to
Creed
out
towers.
yeah, the screen towers. Yeah, exactly. So like those like oil refineries like
Mhm.
that create the pollution and everything, you go over there, take it out, and then all the nature starts growing around it and bringing health to the forest. And that's one thing you have to gather resources like,
Mhm.
fruits and then beans, things like that, even the animals as well too. And if you have any of those refineries around, like you can't get any resources in that area. But if you take them out, the nature will actually grow. And that's one thing I do like about that kind of version right there.
That's cool.
And then you do have your simple villain like trying to go after and trying to shut down the RDA, things like that. But the way they actually made the Pandora world, is actually quite gorgeous as well too. Like you just want to explore it,
That's
and
cool.
especially when you get your Ecron, you start flying around. That's also cool. Going to floating mountains, like you do feel like you're on Pandora there. And for me, like if you love Avatar, go ahead. It's a fun game to play.
I like Ubisoft games, and I mean, they have their flaws and they have their repetitive nature and they have their formula that they're becoming even more and more known for, good or bad. But
Right.
I overall I enjoy Ubisoft and I liked Avatar. So like this game just seemed to come out of nowhere and it just was like, oh yeah, here's an Avatar game and I didn't really get to it yet. But I definitely it's on my rather long wish list.
It's
Um,
actually not one of those dumb game tie-ins with the movies where the movies are good and the games are
yeah.
bad. It's not one of them right there.
Well, that's good, because
Yeah.
that's always the worry when we're getting some of these games because there are a long list of those types of games where they're just terrible and they're just
Right,
made to
but
tie into
now they
movies.
stopped coming out with them, which it was I want to say in '07 or '09 or something. It was like around
Mhm.
that time
Yeah,
period.
the late
It was matter of fact,
2000s.
it was before when these kinds of smartphones, before they were out, they were coming out with those crap games. But then when these guys came out with the App Store on here, they're like, "Oh, we'll just make an app for the movie and not bother with the video game." And I think that's one of the things that how like you kind of killed it right there.
Mhm. Yeah, there was a time period, an era where movie tie-in games seemed to just come out left and right, and they were always bad.
Hmm.
And that's I feel like that's changed where like we just don't get that very often. We just get other types of bad games.
Well, here's the thing. I think they realize, oh, wait, these movie tie-in games, like because what it is, the reason why they're so bad is because they have to come out on the same day as the movie, and
Mhm.
that's part of their marketing strategy. So, like they say, okay, we gotta be done. Just save your work and export and just leave it as the way as it is, and and that's no, and it's been proven for me that it does not work.
I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Hmm.
Um, that's the game that's been I'm trying to play through, and of course, I've been playing Helldivers 2. I have been blown away by both games. Helldivers 2 is one that I distinctly remember the reveal trailer for it and just not caring it. Like I remember I saw the reveal for it and I'm just like, "Oh, that looks like I thought it was a Starship Troopers something at first, which I mean, that's obviously what it's been compared to a lot. I
Hmm.
saw the trailer and I'm like, "Oh, that looks weird," and I just didn't care and I'm just like, "All right, whatever, it's just some third person shooter." And it went on to become this phenomenon, 10 out of 10 game, game of the year nominee, contender big time. So Helldivers 2 has been incredible. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is a little bit slower than I expected. Um, I'm like 6, 7 hours in, and the amount of walking and talking relative to combat is different. It feels much more narrative and story focused than the first one. Because I feel like I haven't spent a lot of time in combat. And there's definitely some of the weirdness, some of the quirkiness of Final Fantasy VII. So both of them have been pretty occupying my time. I'm looking forward to Stellar Blade coming out later in the month. That's next on my wish list. I've been having trouble like these games are too long to where like it's hard to play all the games coming out. Like I missed Avatar completely, and they
Right.
dropped two large RPGs that I want to play. There was Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2, both dropped in the same freaking day. And they're both like
Oh,
these massive fantasy RPGs. They're huge. And I'm like, I want to play both of them. But I haven't even gotten close to finishing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth yet.
wow.
So there's too many big games dropping in such a short period of time. Hopefully
Yeah,
I'll
and
be
they
able to
feel a
get to
little
the
too long.
Mhm. I wish they would make more like this is just the old dad gamer, but in me, but like I wish they would make more shorter games because it's like they when you drop two, like what were they thinking dropping two like massive 80 plus hour RPGs on the same day? Like who thought that was a good idea? Like
I have no idea, but like with the how long you have to play some of these games now these days,
yeah.
there is a point where like, okay, this is becoming a little too much here. Let's kind of reduce it a little bit. Like instead of like making 40 hours or 8 hours, how about just 20 hours or something like that? Like I'll be fine with.
Well, the thing is that there's this weird stigma where like there are people out there that have very much the opposite opinion of this, and I think it's the people who have nothing but time and money on their hands out there that are just like, if I spend $70 on a game, I want it to be 150 hours, and I'm just like, why? No, I want to finish the story and move on to the next game. I want like the amount of games where I just never experience the ending because I have to move on to other games eventually is because they're so bloody long. There's
Right.
a lot of like people gave Spider-Man 2 a lot of flack because it was short. And I'm like, no, I was able to
Oh,
roll credits and experience the story completely. Like it was good. Like,
well, like on that note, right there, like I haven't played Spider-Man 2, so
yeah.
but yeah, if it's like you say like if it's kind of like if people say it's short, but is the story's good? Is it like well paced that like it kind of makes sense with all the additional with the cutscenes and things like that?
Yeah. What I
Yeah.
wish that more games would adopt is this is the formula that I think works really well because it's scalable based on what your player might be. So you got someone like me who I want the story to be over in 10, 20 hours. I don't want every video game to feel like a complete season, a complete series of a TV show. Like I remember reading this on IGN or GameSpot or one of the big guys.
Oh, I
They
think
were
I know
talking
what you're talking about.
they were bragging about how Baldur's Gate 3 had like more dialogue or cutscenes than the entirety of Game of Thrones. And I'm like, I don't that's not a good thing. Like I just don't want like if I want to sign up for a game, I want to be able to feel like I can reasonably feasibly get to the end of it in a timely manner. And when you tell me that it's like, yeah, this game is bigger than just the cutscenes alone is bigger than an entire show. And it's like why can't we get more movie experiences? Like, I wanna be able to have more quality 8 to 10-hour games where I can just, burn through them, experience a story, and move on to another story. Not every game has to be 80 to 100 hours long.
No, no, they do not. But on that note, like, my understanding, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but
Mm,
my understanding is, like, I don't think you have to do that because
yeah.
it's a choose a adventure
Mhm.
story
Yeah.
where, like, okay, if you're not, say, required to go on this quest or that quest, things like
Yeah.
that, and you just wanna move on with the story, then it makes it short. For me, I think that's a big win right there.
Yeah.
But if you wanna explore a little bit more, go ahead, take these a few extra quests and maybe
Yeah.
have a different outcome or something. It's kind of like with Mass Effect, for
Yeah.
example. Yeah,
That
like that. That's something I'm totally fine with right there. It's just the notion of like, oh, if it's this much, it has to be this long or something
mhm.
like that. I hate that where it has to be this long. Oh, go ahead.
That's what I was leading to, but then I got distracted by the IGN thing. What I was saying was they have if they tweak the formula of how they do side quests a little bit, where there's so many games that they tie your progression, your ability to do things, your power sets to side quests to force you to do the filler in between. So there are games that and Ubisoft's pretty bad at this. I feel like
Mhm.
Hogwarts Legacy did this pretty well. Did this a lot as well, where they force you to do the side stuff to level up your character or learn an ability, or they send you on all this filler. And what they re-
Mhm.
what they don't what I wish more of them would realize is there are those of us that just want to burn through the campaign, burn through the main story, let me experience the ending of the story, let me roll credits, and if I want to, go play another 40 hours of this, that, and the other thing, exploring your world, going on quests and side missions. But there's a lot of games that force you to do all those things because if you don't
Mm.
go on the side quests, you're not going to be powerful enough for that story. Like I remember it was Assassin's Creed Origins. That was one of the longest games that I remember rolling credits on. It was like 100 hours I put into that game, and I just said by the end of it, I was so burnt out on the game, and I'm just like, "I just wanna know what happens at the end." I lost interest like 30 hours to the ending. Like, some of these
Oh,
games are just so long to where it's like, "Look, I've experienced everything, I'm satisfied, just tell me what happens at the end." And there's so many of these games where they overstay their welcome. And I understand people want their money's worth. And I get it. You're paying $70 for a game, you don't want it to be over and done. But I also just don't understand some of these people that just they want so much content and somehow that's the only thing that will satisfy them. Instead of it being a good story filled with good characters. Like there's this one journalist I was this one games journalist that was talking about Dragon's Dogma. And Dragon's Dogma 2 had been out for a week and they said, I already got 100 hours in and I'm going on my third playthrough. And I'm just like, what the hell's wrong
what?
with you? When do you
You have a
sleep?
life.
Like, I'm like, I get it. They get paid to do this, but even if I was paid to do this, I'm like, I would not want to put 100 hours into a game in a week. Like, I did the math. I'm like,
Oh,
that is like 2.5 full-time jobs worth of effort in a week. So this person is like
oh,
playing for 8, 10 hours, sleeping for a few hours, and then doing. I'm like, A, that's not healthy. B, how
right.
is that fun? Like,
Yeah, no, it ruins the fun.
it's not fun. Wouldn't you much rather just have a 10-hour game with a killer story, and then if you wanna keep playing it afterwards, go on side quests, do missions, and just keep exploring the open world? But no, they force you to do all of this other stuff before you can go on to the next story mission. And that's one thing I wish more games would have that, where, like, give me the 15-hour story, and for everyone else that wants 60 hours of fetch quests and filler shit, you can do that after you roll credits.
Right.
Yeah,
Or do it along the way. Like, yeah, it's pretty much the player's choice.
yeah,
That's why I kind of like want to see, and that's I feel like might be a good balance out of that right
yeah.
there.
I don't like it when they tie the progression of the story to some of these other things, or they
Yeah.
purposely slow it down and fill it to where you can't roll credits faster, and they're just that filler and stuff like, "Hey, like, in order to go to the next mission, you have to be level 8, and you're only level 6, and to get to level 6, you have to find
Or
87 of these random things," and it's like, "No, stop it."
or you just pay with real money to get more experience points to level you up.
Oh my gosh, the time savers, we could spend a long time talking about that.
You know? You know what companies are thinking of that right now.
Okay. Okay. So I think this is a good segue because we've talked a little bit about Ubisoft and ridiculously long, lengthy games and Avatar and just some of those things. And let's use that to segue into the next topic of just Star Wars Outlaws. We've talked a little bit
Right,
about Ubisoft and the Ubisoft formula and
right.
massive big games, and let's talk about that. Star Wars Outlaws dropped a new trailer the other day, and I'll be honest. My anticipation level for Star Wars Outlaws has been, I'm gonna put it politely to say, mixed. I didn't even put it on my most anticipated video. I was like, I'd be lying if I was saying I was super excited for it because, but the thing is, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so like I always have like this default level of excitement, but I'm also like super burnt out because Star Wars Jedi Survivor was such a terrible disappointment for me,
Mhm,
and the unacceptable state that that game was in. It's one of the worst states of games I've played. Um, like it was worse than Cyberpunk. I mean, like the fact that that game didn't have a bigger controversy is beyond me. So the last $70 Star Wars game I bought was terrible. Um,
right.
and
It was because you couldn't. It wouldn't run on your PC.
oh, it
It was
wasn't
like,
just that. It wasn't just that it ran poorly. It had
oh, okay.
game-breaking bugs. So I
Oh,
have
that's what.
yet to
Okay,
finish the game because
I see.
it has one of the most idiotic design choices I've seen in modern games. It has a single automatic save system. You cannot have multiple save files. It has no cloud
Yeah,
backup. So if the game bugs and you can't progress or back up, you can't just load an earlier save and try again. So like
that.
the
Yeah,
first
I totally hear you. That
it's the
right there.
dumbest thing, and the fact and that could be excusable if the game didn't have problems, but the game had a lot of them, and I had to restart the game twice. So real quick on Survivor was, it has game-breaking bugs to where there are times where a power or an ability will bug out, and you literally cannot progress. And because like the
Ooh,
game forces you to do a certain ability to progress certain past a certain spot,
mhm,
and there have been like the first the first game breaking bug I came across was um my save file got corrupted, so I had to start all the way over. I lost 20
mhm.
hours of progress. My second playthrough, I made it farther past that point. Um, I could feel my anxiety building as I got to the point where it crashed and burned last time, but I got past it, and then I got a little bit farther, and I experienced a game-breaking bug where I couldn't progress and I couldn't go backwards, so I have to start all the way,
The game was unplayable in a way.
literally unplayable. We use that word a lot, but in this case, it was literally true. Where like it was, I was unable to finish the game. So I don't know. It was frustrating. I tried everything I could to get the game to work better. And the frame rate issues improved, and the stability issues improved. But those game breaking bugs, the fact that I had two, I've never in my entire gaming career, I've never had two forced total restarts
What
25 plus hours in. It's insane.
that
That's just
I know that is
inexcusable.
insane. Yeah,
But
no, that is
I don't want to spend too much time on it
right.
because in all fairness, Star Wars Outlaws is being built by different people. So as bad as
Mhm.
Survivor was, that really shouldn't affect Outlaws, but well, we'll see. I'm just super hesitant because we Star Wars games have been, if you want to talk about video game curses, Star Wars games are cursed. Like the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Edition that came out,
Oh
big
yeah.
issues. There have been like we just another canceled Star Wars game. We could do a whole state of gaming episode
Mhm.
on canceled Star Wars games. The fact that the fact that EA has canceled like twice as many projects that they've actually released in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
How
Mhm.
the fact that since Disney's taken over Star Wars, there have been at least, mental recount real quick, just at least 10 that we know of canceled Star Wars projects. And that's insane to me. Like
Oh man.
EA
Yeah.
canceled so many, and Respawn Respawn just had their Mandalorian one canceled. And
Oh,
that's
it's
not
so
even
disappointing on that
like
one.
we have this long list of canceled projects that were officially announced or leaked or that we knew about that were canceled, or maybe they were never revealed, but the
Mm.
cancellation was officially announced. But the thing that really is crazy is that we also have the curse expands greater than that. We have like 3 games that are announced that are just stuck in limbo. Like Star Wars Hunters was supposed to come out like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
Oh,
that
yeah, I
one?
did. I remember that. I actually played the game actually at Star Celebration in
You played it? Was
2022.
it good?
I the game was alright. It was more likely a kind of like a battle royale for your
Mhm.
phone and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
There's not too much there. I don't think there's really any much story in it. It's just more like a battle royale, which the gameplay, I actually gotta admit, I did
had
have
fun.
some fun with it, but I didn't find anything. I wasn't, let's say, too excited for it.
Yeah, that game was supposed to be out years ago, and I think the huge problem is that it's coming to the wrong platforms. Like mobile and Switch, like the fact that they've never like that's the Switch is old, man. Like nothing should be coming
Oh,
for the
yeah.
Switch anymore. The Switch is like they needed to update the Switch 2 years ago. Like I purposely like I try to avoid Switch games at this point because it's such an old system. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why I have this system right here.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like a mobile Switch only game makes me. But anyways,
Yeah.
let's get back to Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah,
I'm
Outlaws,
that
yeah.
was my fault for I was rabbit trailing because I'm just like there's this Star Wars curse of like how bloody hard is it to make a Star Wars game? Like you would think that Star Wars should be, they should just be easier. Like everyone loves Star
Well,
Wars and Star Wars is such a popular IP. I don't know why
it
it's so hard
is.
to get them out the door, but Outlaws is
Well,
coming. It's only a few months
yeah.
away.
Mhm.
What do you let me tell me what are your thoughts
So
about Outlaws?
this is kind of like what my thoughts about it are is like one is like I thought the trailer was all right. The humor didn't quite land on it. Um, but some of the scenery looks pretty cool. I kind of like how they show the nod where you see Jabba and the Harrison Ford in the Carbonite.
Mhm.
Pretty much just saying that like it takes place between episode 5 and 6. I do like that right there. Um, but the story seems like right now just showing pretty basic, like of this one lone person who just needs to get her freedom back, so she has to rob this person to do that. So the story seems pretty basic. So like I wasn't too let's say like really excited about it per se. However, I do like the idea you're playing like as a scoundrel and you have to kind of work your way through this universe where let's say you're not playing as a Jedi. It's like a different player character. It's like people compared it to like Grand Theft Auto in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea. So like I'm hoping it'll be good. So that's what's kind of keeping me looking forward to the game. It's just like is the gameplay and the new character and the expanding of the universe, hopefully going to different planets, what else is out there as well too. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to. I do like to look for a story, but the story seems kind of a little too simple.
My biggest complaint was when they first announced it, like I love Star Wars, and I'm
Oh
one of
yeah.
those people where like give me anything. I will be the first to admit, give me anything Star Wars. But I also just remember thinking I was just like, I remember when I was putting out my most anticipated article, and I did include it in there. I didn't include it in the video. I made a smaller video that had a shorter list of things that I was really excited about, and I had a bigger article, and I put it in there. I was like, my criticism maybe is a little unfair, but we've gotten so few Star Wars projects and so many have been canceled that I feel like it's okay to have high standards. Like we're not getting a lot of Star Wars games. We've only gotten a couple. They've announced like 15 of them, but they've only released a couple. And that's not Ubisoft. And it's not Ubisoft's fault because this is their first one. But I was just
Mm.
kind of like, I feel like it's a game made by people who didn't bother to ask literally anyone what they should make. That's the impression I got. Where I'm just like,
Mm.
it just feels like if you just look at it, it's like, hey, dear Star Wars fan base, do you want us to once again revisit the Imperial era that has been done to death, or literally any other era? And I think if they had bothered to ask the fan base, they would have been like, "Yeah, we've gotten enough of the Rebels Imperial era. Pick a different timeline." Like, they're just once again revisiting the Rebels Imperial era. We just like we've gotten only a couple games so far, and they're all set within the same tiny period on Star Wars. And outside of a little bit of Clone Wars content in Battlefront, like we've not gone outside this era. I'm kind of tired of fighting stormtroopers. And it was like, do we pick a pre-selected character? Do we let people build their own? Do we pick a pre-selected type of combat type of character, or do we let people pick their own? It was like the thing that I was just like, to me, if you ask me what type of game should Ubisoft make, it's like they specialize in these open world, massive worlds. Like if somebody could pull off a really good like Star Wars or open world RPG where you can pick your own character, pick your own class system, and give you this massive multi-planet adventure to go on, I think Ubisoft could have pulled that off well. But they just picked an incredibly safe premise. It's like I don't like some people are like the problem is it's the game's already getting controversy because they're getting controversy because people don't like the pre-made character, and I'm like, I don't care that the pre-made character is a girl. I don't care about any of that. But it's like, I think it would have been a better decision to make a we just had two games with Cal. We have pre-selected characters, so it would have been nice to be able to make our own and go on an adventure. But they're like, no, you're going to play as this specific character, and you're going to be some pistol wielding
Uh,
smuggler.
Gunslinger, yeah.
I'm just like, I feel like it's not the game I wanted them to make, and that's why I'm not excited for it. It's not that it looks bad. It's just, I'm not like, I feel like they could have done better. Like, picked a different time period, given us more. Like, just imagine this game where maybe it's set during the High Republic or set during the Clone Wars or set during all these other eras, and you can choose
Right.
whether or not you're a Jedi, whether or not you're a smuggler, whether or not you're a droid or a bounty hunter or Mandalorian. Like, I should boot this game up and have like 6 or 7 classes to choose from and go on this massive adventure. Like, that would have been amazing, but they're like, "Nope, you're gonna be another character that we determined fighting stormtroopers." And I was like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
That's my opinion on it, is like,
uh,
it's just not the game I wanted them to make. So that's why I'm kinda like, "Eh."
well, granted, at least you're finding the gangsters like in that game, so it's not always
Yeah,
stormtroopers. So, like, I would give it
true.
the defense on that one right there. I do see your point about the era that they're picking right now, and granted, yes, it is a safe bet for Lucasfilm,
They have
but grant
thousands of years to choose from, and they keep picking the same 20-year period.
yeah, it's
Like, why?
okay, one thing is Lucasfilm does need to get their shit together. And the reason why is because it's also like the movies, like because they announce a project and then, oh, creative differences, they're not going to do that. Oh, they're going okay, they really need to get their act together on it. Because one thing, if they're going to do, say something of the sequel trilogy, like in a
Mhm.
game like that, they are totally afraid of doing that because of the backlash they
Yeah.
gotten. So I get that right there. But what they should have done was the Mandalorian game that apparently they canceled. Like, hey, you know what? The show is great. Do something like in that era right there.
How amazing. I talk about create your own character. Just imagine a Mandalorian RPG where you create your own Mandalorian character. You can customize their armor, what type of weapons they use. Are they melee? Are they tanky? Like a make your own
I'll
like
play the shit out of that game.
how amazing would that be? Like when we people talk about the Mandalorian game being made by Respawn, that could have been really cool, but I don't think people think Mandalorian like Din Djarin himself. I don't think that it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could have
Right,
been like
no.
just a different Mandalorian. But like I'm just saying, like you literally have so many better ideas for a game, and the only thing they could come up with is female Han Solo fighting stormtroopers and pirates. And I'm just like, come on, that is like the most boring idea I could pitch. This is why I'm so not excited for the game is I personally feel like I could pitch 10 better Star Wars games. I feel like I have pitched 10 better Star Wars games. And I'm just like, there are different eras that are more interesting, that have been less explored, different characters, just more that can be done. And the fact that they just, I don't know, I don't know. I will be very happy to admit if I'm wrong. If the game comes out and it's fantastic and everyone's saying it's so good and I play it and it's really good, if I am wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. We'll do a
Yeah, no,
follow-up
it'll be a
episode
big
where I'll
win.
talk about
Yeah,
how
exactly.
wrong I was. But I'm just
And
not
hey,
excited. I don't know.
well, here's the thing: it's also it's just how they're marketing the game because it's all what we're seeing right now. So like we're just seeing like what I saw is just like it's kind of like just a bland smuggler story right here,
Yeah.
and that nothing too much right there. But as you play the game, there could be some excellent twists that we don't know about. That like, wait, this could expand the lore or something. And they add something in there, and they're just
Mhm.
kind of keeping it from the surprise. I'm hoping. I'm not saying that right now, but that's what could have happened and if it's great, like fantastic, I'll be happy then.
Yeah.
I would absolutely be happy because I love my Star Wars, and I've also been playing like Jedi Survivor as well too, on and off as well too, going through some of the quests as well too. So I've been playing on the PS5.
I, yeah, I don't know. I love Star Wars, and I'm down for just about anything Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um,
me
but I mean,
too.
it's just one of those where it's like I'm just I'm keeping my expectations very, very low because it's just not the game I want, and I'm questioning some of their decisions they made. But I could be wrong. It might end up being great. I mean, just about anything is going to be better than Jedi Survivor. So as long as it comes out and is playable and it doesn't,
Right, if it
force me to
actually
restart it three
works.
times over,
Yeah.
then hey, then I'll give them that. I will give them that. If the game is bug free, feeling finished at launch and launches in a quality state and doesn't have bad monetization, I will give credit where credit's due. Like the story could be boring as fuck, but if it's stable and they're not overly monetized, I will give them that credit. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's getting a little long
Oh,
in the video,
oh
so I
yeah.
want to transition over to our last topic. This was one that
Mm-hmm.
you picked, so I want to make sure we got to it because
Right.
this was an interesting one. Final topic for the night before we wrap up. We won't spend too much time on it, but I think we can get some interesting points out. Digital and physical media. There's been a lot of talk about that, even just most recently with the topic we just perfect transition from Star Wars Outlaws, getting a little bit of flack for the physical versions requiring an internet connection. There's
Yes.
been stuff in just even just in the last year in news about like games disappearing from libraries, movies and TV shows disappearing from libraries. Like this is a topic that I know you're really passionate about, and I have some thoughts on it. Like, how do you feel about what was it? Well, I think it was the Ubisoft CEO said that gamers need to get used to not owning games. I need to double check my quote. I'm pretty sure that's who it was that said that. But just in general, just this general trend towards digital ownership, digital games, streaming, cloud-based, like physical media is going away. It's been announced that major US retailers like Best Buy and Walmart are phasing out physical media for movies and games and things. You have the floor. What do you think about this topic?
Okay. I am pretty passionate about it. Yes, I am collector, but I'm just also thinking about like outside of collecting, just something to have your just something available to you to watch or play a game that where you don't have to rely on some kind of service to just download or to stream like, because, for example, what happens if your internet goes down? Great, like, okay, can't download the game, you can't stream it. What do you
Half
do?
the
Like,
games
and
don't
that's
work
when,
anymore.
or yeah, the half the games don't work anymore. Yeah, well, what do? You gotta rely on your physical media or where you have downloaded as well too. Now, like, yeah, over the years, I definitely purchased some digital like games and movies. Most of them were just on sale mainly, and when I get it, but at least I downloaded it on a hard drive that like it's not going to go away unless something like there has been I know like there was like this one small very small kind of like it looks like a quarter on battery in like in the PlayStation models where if that goes out then the game won't be able to play on there but recently Sony actually updated the system where if it goes out you can still play the game as normal as before but with the what you're saying about like the find the physical copy and then like downloading requirements. I have two games right here that require an internet connection to order
Single
to
player
play the
games.
game.
Mhm.
Yeah, single player games. Now, granted, you could do co-op in this game right here, but you can play single player, and yeah, you have to have an internet connection, and it's becoming a more uh trend right now where companies are just like having, let's say, using the disc as like an unlock key, and then you just download the game on their servers. Now, the only problem is like, okay, what if people who are really out there don't have really good internet and they have to download gigs and gigs and gigs? Now, when it comes to, let's say, this digital ownership or like relying people's on company servers, is like, what happens if those servers decide to shut down? Just shut down. Well, I just spent $70 at a game and I cannot re-download it, and or the file corrupts, I cannot reinstall it or anything. Like, there goes $70 right there. That it's also the video game preservation as well too,
Mhm.
and that's something that I kind of sometimes worry a little bit about and try and find some other safeguards. Like, okay, what other ways to get around this that like I don't have to rely on service. Now, granted, PlayStation is pretty big. I know it's going to be around for a very long time, but with all this digital ownership and going I'm losing my train of thought. Digital ownership, and then also of companies having control of your media, because technically you're not buying to own it, you're just buying a license
Mhm.
for it. Now, the great thing is just having physical. It's not like a company's going to boo, take it away from you. But let's say you buy something digital, shuts down, and they can take that away from you. Like, here's a good example. This just happened like last year, where Sony of the PlayStation, they had their movie and TV store. They shut that down, but you made purchases off of it, like buying a season for $40. And what happened last year, like this is only mainly with Discovery Channel shows, that the licenses from Sony, those licenses was going to expire. So if you make purchase of those were all going to go away, and you were never able to get them back. There was such a big uproar on that. They said, okay, we renewed our license for 30 months. But after 30 months, are you going to continue renewing the license? Continue renewing the license. That's the big problem right there right now. That like, granted, I didn't purchase anything off the PlayStation store for their movies because I use my iTunes,
Yeah, but
and
for the
also
people who did, it'd be a huge thing.
right, like granted, it's only a small portion of
Mhm.
it, but fact that's actually just an example of the reality
It's a
that
good example.
we could be in.
Mhm.
So like one solution, like I don't know how real this will be, is that there's got to be some kind of law saying like, okay, you may purchase something digitally, and the service is going to be shut down. The company must provide you a digital download of that copy, saying like, here, you got 45 days to download this. There's got to be some kind of consumer protections of this, because they're just kind of like, they don't care if they make their money, cool. But if they're going to keep doing that, they're going to start losing distrust
Mm.
in their customers. And what's going to, for me, I really do not encourage this. I don't want to promote this in any way, shape, or form. But if companies are going to keep doing this, people are just going to pirate. They're just going to pirate the movies and the games, saying like, "Wait a minute," because they're going to say like, "If I spend money movie on this, how do I know you're not going to just take that away from me?" That sort of thing. Like, and that mentality is slowly coming
Mhm.
in. There was even an article where piracy over the years went up 12%
Yep.
because of all this.
The I feel like it's not even just about the fear of it being taken away, but how they failed to miss they completely missed the point as to why. I'm gonna pick on
Mhm.
TV streaming services for a second, not
Right.
quite games, but I'm gonna pick on them as an example because they're the ones that are most guilty of this.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
the music the streaming service industry sold us on a concept where instead of paying $100+ a month on cable, you pay $10 a month and you can just stream all this stuff. It's ad free. It's great. And the Netflix promise was a really great idea of the future. Cord cutting made
Mhm.
a lot of sense. And it was just this idea of low cost, instant access to everything. And it worked. It worked really well. And there was someone who said this, I don't remember who it was, but basically it goes something like this: was like when you make doing something legally easy, convenient, and cheap, you're going to see a huge decline in people doing it illegally. Like when iTunes came out, music pirating. plummeted because it's just easy. It was easy. It was cheap.
Right.
It was all in one place. When like Spotify had a similar impact on music, and then within movies, like the Netflix effect, like pirating did see a huge dip because it's just easy. It's like, man, just get a Netflix subscription. It was
Right.
like $8, and you had a huge library of stuff.
Here's a really good example on that one right there, because like when Netflix came out, HBO, you had to have a cable a contract
Mhm,
a cable contract. You have to have a cable subscription and
mhm,
then add on another $30. And people really want to watch Game of Thrones. They had to pirate it because they couldn't
mhm,
really afford it. Then when they came out with their streaming service for
mhm.
$15 a month, oh man, the pirating went down for Game of
Yeah,
Thrones because they made cheap and easy access.
and then fast forward, half a decade later, every streaming there's dozens, and they're all 3 times as expensive, and they're so partitioned on, like, what content is on what, that it's now more expensive now to have all the streaming services, all the popular ones, the mainstream ones, than it is just to
Mhm.
have cable. And it's
Correct.
objectively worse. Like Netflix is I pay $22 a month for Netflix. And it's like it's objectively like not better than it was. There's less new stuff. There's less, I mean, it's getting, I feel like it's getting a little better. But for a while there, I actually canceled Netflix for a while because I'm just like, you guys, like going back to that thing about fear, you want to talk about fear about getting like things taken away, is like you're paying all this money every month, and they just canceled. Ridiculous. They had such a high cancel rate where it's like,
Mhm.
and I don't, the TV industry is such a bad example of this done right. The music industry does a lot better, has done a much better job. You don't have to have 5 different music streaming services to get access to
That's
music.
true.
But and within games, let's get back into games. There's a lot of ways this topic could go. We could talk about game preservation. We could talk about like
Right.
some of the things that they like always online connections. And the thing that people might be like, well, how often does a game get pulled from the library? Like that doesn't happen very often. So a lot of people don't like think it's that big a deal. But I think where they miss the point is where it does happen very often. And what they don't realize is I think I did an article, or maybe I was just talking with someone about this, but one of the things that I've noticed lately is just the sheer amount of same year shutdowns that have happened in the last 2 years. The amount of games that launch, don't succeed, and then shut down and become unplayable. Now, some of them, granted,
Oh,
were free, but like that,
mhm.
I think is the right now the closest example we have of like problems with this digital ownership and game preservation is like even when you're buying the physical game, some of these games are so online focused that when they shut down, the physical media becomes worthless. I think
You
the
talk about those live service games,
Yeah, or just
like
multiplayer games
Suicide
in
Squad
general. Yep.
or
Like
multiplayer games. Mhm,
when like Suicide Squad is doomed, and a lot of people knew
mhm.
it was doomed ahead of time. But not every game had that. Like there were games that people thought were going to be good and bought into that just kind of evaporated into nothing. Like I think a lot of people were excited for Avengers, and Avengers was one that I was excited for and thought was going to be good. Like who thought Avengers wasn't going to be good? Like it's freaking Avengers.
Right.
And the fact that that game launched terrible and didn't go where anyone thought it was going to go, and eventually it didn't like 100% shut down. It's like mostly shut down. You can't buy it anymore. But like it's I think the worst example, because what you were talking about is how we need, I think that the main theme of this topic is how there is a need for consumer protections in the US because
Yeah.
there's just so little to prevent the fact that I think there just needs to be consumer protections, and it doesn't help that, without getting political, it doesn't help that
R
all the people who make the laws are 80 years old and don't play video
yeah.
games. That
Right,
doesn't
I'm
help.
not trying to put
But
I'm not trying to be political here, I'm just pointing out the
but
facts and the reality of what's going on right now.
we need these protections because these game companies shouldn't be allowed to sell $70 games in the states that they're selling. It should be illegal. Like I
That
do
too.
honestly think that, for example, going back to my reference of like Star Wars Survivor was, I feel like, bad enough to where that should not have been a legally allowed sale. Like the game breaks 20 hours in and you can't finish it. That's 18 hours past Steam's refund policy. Like I can't get my money back for that game.
Oh,
And
oh
they don't
man.
have a generic thing like that. Like there's been exceptions, Like, you know, the Cyberpunk was a note like is obviously a famous exception where the game just got so much bad press that it forced the storefronts to offer refunds. But that doesn't always
Right.
happen. And sometimes,
Mm.
sometimes these really bad ones is they fly under the radar because Cyberpunk was a huge thing and it was on the radar. So when it went bad, the storefronts got kind of forced into doing it. But what happens when lesser known games come out and are in similar things and they should have like refunds?
Mhm.
Um, like I don't know if refunds were offered or not, but like the worst example that I can think of on this topic is Babylon's Fall. It is one of the worst games I've ever played. It was a $70 AAA game,
Mhm.
absolutely terrible, and it got shut down within a year. And I don't think they were offering refunds. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and people were
It
able
was
to get
called Babylon?
yeah, so it was a Platinum game from Square Enix, published by Square Enix,
Okay.
made by Platinum Games, which neither one of those are red flags. These are both studios that know what they're doing and have released fantastic. Some of my favorite games are are from them, right? How this hot garbage got pushed out the door, I don't know. The game at one point, this is how bad it was. So there was it got before it got shut down. Only a couple months after it came out, there was only one person globally playing it. There was it was that was the end for it. Whereas like the Steam account
Wow.
had one person. That's how few people were playing it. And I was not that one person, thankfully. But I'm just like, it's one of the worst games ever. And it was launched at, like there is really nothing when you think about it. There's really nothing preventing these studios from dropping $70 live service games and being like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't successful. Sorry, bye," and they
The
just leave.
one the one game that I can think of that happened recently that only lasted, like, for 3 days was, like, the day after. It was that zombie apocalypse.
Well, that's a straight that's a whole different conversation. That one was a
Uh,
scam. Like though
okay.
that was a scam game. Like the gaming industry. Like, there were those of us that knew what it was. Like, those of us that knew
Okay.
it was a scam and knew it was a fake. It was one of the best, like, asset flips. Like, everything like, they didn't make shit for that game. They just bought assets and put
Okay.
it like, it was a fake-ass game that they tricked a lot of people into thinking was real and dipped. Like, that's a whole different thing.
Okay, I didn't realize that because
That
I
was a
didn't
whole
follow it
thing.
until I heard about what happened
The
with the game.
studio
I'm going,
just took off and, like, the owner of that studio is still MIA, and it was just the whole scam, like but that's a
"Oh,
perfect thing to bring up about how there's just there's not enough consumer protection there, where, like,
right."
Steam, like, refunded everybody, so, like, that has a better ending, but, like, that's an
Mhm.
extreme example of, like but I feel like some of these other studios, they're kind of similarly guilty of, like, when they don't deliver on what they promise and they drop hot garbage, you know, some of these like some these different storefronts have very different refund policies, and except for when exceptions are made because enough people put up a stink. There just needs to be
Right.
better. There just need to be better consumer protections. Like I feel like some of these games, like you need to have commitments up front that if you're dropping a game that has in-game economies, has multiplayer elements, has no offline play, and you don't make a long-term promise to how long it'll be available, like that's like I've bought games that are unplayable now, and that's
Yeah, no,
wrong. Like
I
that's
think
wrong. Like how can you shut this shit off with and it's not old.
mhm. Yeah, no, like, I think I even have a game as well too. I think it was, Anthem. I have, like, I was looking forward to that, but, like, the game was not that good, and I was so confused by it, and I don't have PlayStation Plus
Anthem
anymore.
is infamous.
Infamous, yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's when they when they do like these live service games, like for me, I was actually kind of looking forward to the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But
Mhm.
when I found out it was a live service game, I'm going, oh wait a minute, I if this game if it shuts down, and in the final description, it does say on their website like Warner Bros. Can deactivate this game anytime and the game becomes unplayable. Going, so you're asking $70
Yeah.
for a game that might the service might be shut down.
Ideally,
So
I
I
think at a minimum, they need to have some type of long-term commitment with gamers and or a full refund policy. if a game has an upfront cost and it don't even make it a year, guaranteed refunds protected by law. And for some of these games, there need to be these guaranteed, like, we promise to keep the servers online for 2 years, regardless of player count, like things like that. There needs to be some of these things that are going to protect gamers, encourage them
Right.
to invest because like there have been a couple games where I'm like, hey, this is kind of a fun game. I don't, I mean, I'll buy. I mean, especially free to play games. There are free to play
Mhm.
games that drop, and I'm like, game's fun. I like it. I don't mind dropping them some support, but then I'm also like, I'm like kind of worried. I'm like, do I get a battle pass or buy something to support this game? But then I look at it as like, is there enough support for this? Does this game look like it's going to? It's kind of that chicken or the egg problem. You don't want to throw money in the garbage, but
Correct.
you also don't want like if everyone thinks that it's kind of a one of those things where you want to see if the game's successful. And I've had that conversation with myself a couple times where I'm like, this game's fun. I could support it, but then it shuts down because it just doesn't get the traction. Some of these games we're seeing the rise of the throw it at the wall and see what sticks when it comes to live service, where big
Right,
companies
because
are launching big games and
they're
no long
trying
term
to
commitment.
copy Fortnite because on
Hmm.
how much money that's been making, saying like, okay, let's take a brand and turn it to a live
Yep.
service. And that's unfortunate. It's going to kill those games right there. But like
Yeah.
coming back to like with the physical media, like for me, like I still actually buy like some of the like with the games and
Hmm.
also even Blu-rays movies as well too, and including this one right here as well too. The
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, and they're actually this month, April 30th, they are actually going to be releasing Obi-Wan Kenobi on Blu-ray, the show series, and Andor as well too on Blu-ray this month. And usually, and with these like even these streaming service, like if like for Star Wars, I will buy them because I don't know when they're going to pull out because they
Yeah,
did pull Willow off of Disney Plus,
that's a
and
good thing to
now
bring up. Hmm.
yeah, because now where can you watch it? Like there's no other place you can watch it, and
Yeah,
so
it's such a weird thing. Like when it's like there's this idea of like that's a whole subject of like when they pull something and it just doesn't exist anywhere. Because and it's like that's not the first time that that's happened where there have been movies and shows that they launched on Disney Plus. Disney's guilty of that, where they drop things and then they pull it and then they just can't find it anywhere. And um,
right.
that's weird when that happens. Like there's been one or two times where I'm looking for a show and I'm just like, yeah, this show doesn't exist anywhere. I can't find it. It's such a weird thing. Like it's like in the digital age, you can't go to a store to even buy the show, let alone find it on one of the services. It's weird.
Correct. I know it is very weird, and that's why it's kind of like a little bit worrisome. So that's why, like, I still like buying my physical media. I'm hoping it'll still stick around a little bit much longer
Mhm.
until, let's say, maybe we could get some consumer protection laws in place where, like, okay, this needs to be happening. Like, okay, if people spend this money on a game or a
Mhm.
movie, they must have this product in here. It's like something like
Yeah.
a disc with no data on it, going, and you
Mhm.
spend $70 on it, going, wow, this was useless right here.
The, um, the thing is like, it doesn't I mean, ideally, laws would be best because it's what's gonna force everything to adapt, like, but even, like, it just kind of as a, stepping stone to that is if we can get some of the bigger companies to publicly promise certain policies that at least within their bubble, you feel that peace of mind, that'd be a good, like, intermediary step if Steam or Xbox or some of the big umbrellas, like, publicly guaranteed or made certain promises that were consumer friendly. Um, I wanted to end this conversation on this
Oh yeah.
topic on with something I had that I was thinking about, like, I feel like there's a lot of solves to some of the problems we've been talking about,
Mhm.
certain consumer protection laws and some of the things that something that I thought would be interesting that I would like to see because I do feel like the digital future, I feel like it's inevitable, like it's coming whether or not we like it or not,
It is coming. Yeah,
and like the rise of Game Pass, and the thing is, I'm not even anti-digital. Like I like Game Pass.
oh yeah.
I
Mhm.
like the convenience of digital games. I give them credit where it's credit. I'm kind of lazy. It's nice. I don't have to get up and go get the box, and it's they're convenient. They're nice. I do like. So I'm going to use Xbox as my
Mhm.
fanboy example of where
Right.
I feel like if it's inevitable, there are some things that I feel like could be done right to make this work. Um, and one thing is I kind of like Xbox's vision of Netflixing
Uh,
Netflixerizing, whatever the word is, of gaming, where, like, I kinda like their idea of this future vision they have of, like, games on all screens, like, this they're trying to tear down the console war walls, like, I kinda have this idea of, like, I would love to be able to just play Halo on my iPad or this games everywhere. I mean, I kinda like that future. I'm weary of big corporations doing it wrong, and game preservation is something I care about, and consumer protections are things that I care about. But assuming, maybe it's a little naive, but assuming it can be done right, where gamers are protected, I kind of like the idealized version of what they're saying, where, like, these games, they're available everywhere across multiple devices, and I kind of like that future a little bit. But I did have an idea of one thing that they could do that would make it a little bit better is Xbox has been on the forefront of game preservation. So I think if anyone would do it, they would. They've been on the forefront of backwards compatibility, cross generation support. They made future compatibility better with smart delivery. So, like, Xbox has done a really good job, in my opinion. They've done a lot. They've made mistakes and they've done stuff. They've done stupid stuff. But I feel like in this category, they've done a good job of trying to protect old games. The fact that Xbox original, Xbox 360, Xbox One games are playable on a Series X is impressive and
That's good.
unprecedented. And on the topic of game preservation, that's a really good step in the right direction. And I want them to keep doing that. So there is something specific that I think they need to do if they want to maintain that momentum into future generations. So there's been a lot of rumors lately of a portable handheld Xbox device. PlayStation and Xbox are both kind of debating internally on whether or not they want to make one. That would obviously be a digital only device. And then there's rumors that the next, either if they do a mid cycle or the next generation of Xbox will go digital only as well. There was a
Yeah.
render of, like, a Series X successor
I
that
think I
was
saw that one. It
like a
looks
mid
like
cycle.
almost like a tin can, almost like
Yeah.
the
There's a
Apple Pro or
there's
Mac
a
Pro.
there's a very good chance that the next generation of Xbox, whether that's whole generation or mid cycle generation, won't have discs. And if we get to this future where they're going discless, like, I feel like it's coming. The way this could be done right is if they had some kind of like very consumer friendly trade in system where, like, if I could turn in a disc for a digital code, and and Xbox comes out with, like, this long-term plan of, like, promising to maintain these digital copies forever, like, they could do it right. But that's where it's like, if the digital future is coming, they need to make the transition smooth for all of us that don't have digital copies of games. So, like, because
Mhm.
if they don't do it that way, then they're kind of defeat the whole purpose of all the stuff they've been working on over the last 10 years
Right.
with backwards compatibility. Like, yeah, it's commonplace to get digital copies now, but I have a lot of 360 games, a lot of Xbox One games that are on discs. So if they had like a transitional feature where, like, you could turn in the physical copies for digital ones and convert your library over, then that would be at least good. Where, like, I feel like the wrong way to do this would be to just force the digital future, but give people no,
Mhm.
like, options to, like,
Right.
you're just SOL.
Mhm.
Those old, like, make hope your console keeps working, and when it
Right.
stops working, you're SOL. You'll never play those games again or rebuy them.
Yeah, no, but here's something even better. Let's say, okay, with the next Xbox, no disk drive and anything is fully digital right there.
Mhm.
What they can do, because Sony's with the PlayStation Store doing this, is
I think I know where you're going with
plugging
this.
in
Mhm.
a disk drive
Yeah,
onto the, so
yeah,
like
an
if you
external.
want an external disk drive right
Mhm.
there, and if
That'd be
something goes
fair. That'd
wrong,
be
you
that'd be a good.
and not only that, I feel like almost that would be easier to do versus like, okay. get a disk, get a code, and like I feel like a whole process of trying to get everyone those codes and see like I could see problems with that. It's a
It doesn't
good
have to be
idea.
either or. They could do both.
Yeah,
Like, you
you
could
could do
have
both,
both
right?
options.
Because there's people like me who want to keep their physical media,
You're
and
like, "I will turn in my discs over my dead body."
exactly, I'll put it down my grave if I
"Your
have
idea
to.
sucks, Jesse. I will never give up my discs." You're like, "They have to
No,
prime for my cold dead hand."
no, but no, your idea is a good idea because what you're suggesting is actually another option for the consumer right there.
I just want
And
them to have those options, like, something to make
exactly.
it better, because, I want a portable Xbox device, but
Hmm.
85% of my Xbox library is disk-based. So, like, yeah, there's
See, and
cloud, but, like, ultimately, I want options, and, you can't plug an external into a portable, so, like, that's why I
well,
like
that's
the
true.
idea of, or, like, you could even do, like, a cloud redemption where, like, it doesn't even have to be just a digital copy. I don't know, that'd be the same as a
Uh,
digital copy, but, like,
yeah.
I just want options that will make the transition smoother. Because I don't here's what I don't want. I don't want them to sacrifice game preservation to make this feature happen, because it's like all those they work so hard to get all these older games still playable on modern consoles. If they just cut that with a hard line, all those old disc games not working simply because they're on discs. And I don't want to have to rebuy old games that I've already
Mhm.
purchased, because that kind of
Oh no,
breaks a promise, I think.
it
Um,
it does in a way, and like for me, like I with the whole Xbox Pass, what they're doing, it's a great thing. Like doing a monthly, kind of like the Netflix for gaming.
mhm,
That's not bad. I like it with streaming and everything. I'm not against that. What I'm against is like all have to go to that one thing.
yeah,
That's the problem. I Because then how can you preserve some games if you don't, let's say, have a copy of it? Because if
yep,
there's a game you absolutely love, you want a copy of that
mhm,
because in case you cancel your service or you can't afford the service, you have to cancel it. Like you have your own copy that you can always play.
yeah. And I think for Game Pass to be successful, it needs to emulate the music industry more than it needs to emulate the TV
The,
streaming
the t-
industry, where it's
I'm with
like,
you on that one right there.
yeah, Game Pass will never have all of the games, but if the future of game streaming and game subscriptions looks more like the streaming industry and TV, where you have to have multiple ones just to play different games, if we start seeing I hate to even put it out into the
Oh,
universe, subscription exclusive games. I had that thought earlier about, like, man, I'm surprised they haven't tried making like Xbox Game Pass exclusive games where you have to have Game Pass to play the games. I don't even want to put that out onto the internet because I don't want anyone to get that idea. I'm like, "No, please don't do that."
but
Um,
isn't Ubisoft technically doing that with the Ubisoft Plus?
they have so that's the thing is, like, Ubisoft and, like, the others have tried to have subscriptions, but I don't feel like they've, like, been hyper successful. In fact, most of them have had to partner up with Xbox because Game Pass is really the only one that's been super successful. Because like,
Wow.
Game Pass has, like, Ubisoft stuff and EA
Okay.
Play stuff, and, like, they're incorporating that. Like, even like Apple launched one that's been struggling to be
Oh, Apple
successful.
Arcade.
PlayStation's like they don't really care about it. Like, it's an afterthought for them. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I like the idea of Game Pass. I like the idea of cloud streaming. I like the idea of games everywhere. If you could find a way to do all of that in a way that's consumer protected and doesn't, like, destroy the old way of doing it, and, like, we can have our game library. I wanna be able to have my game library and also have the future. I wanna have my cake and eat it too, and I want them to figure out how to
Right.
do it right, but I don't know. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. Um, any final thoughts before we wrap up, friend?
See. No, I think we covered quite a bit here today,
This was a good
Jesse.
one. This was a we
This
we probably could have taken any one of these main topics and just made them a whole episode, because I feel like you and I both have enough to talk about on every one of these topics that we could just spend the whole thing. So
r-
it was a super dense episode, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I hope
no,
those of you watching
yeah,
enjoyed it as well.
I really enjoy. I really loved having this conversation with you because these like
This
especially
was
the last
dense.
one. It was very dense. but I feel like very necessary as well too, especially the last topic.
I hope I didn't push this too fast, but I feel like we went this was a long episode and we went through a lot. So I feel like if I didn't keep pushing, we would have missed out on some topics that were really good. Any before we wrap up, do you have any final plugs that you'd like to do? Any upcoming projects, upcoming things, anything you'd like to share with our viewers that you want them to know about?
Yes. So right now on YouTube at Lightspeed Streams, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. I'm having level episodes breakdown of The Last of Us Part Two of each level, and right now I had episode the what was it? Today's Wednesday, the 10th. So I had episode two uploaded today, and episode three will be uploaded for next week at Wednesday 9 a.m. Continuing only until the end of the game. So if you come by, leave a comment on there as well too. I hope you like the episodes and have a good conversation with why The Last of Us Part Two is such a great game.
I want to do another episode just about The Last of Us. I really want to do that because
Oh yeah,
man,
then we should do
we
that.
could. I know we briefly talked about it in the beginning, but man, I
Yeah.
could we could just talk for an hour about The Last of Us. It's such an what we want to see in the future games, like what was special. I mean, we could talk about that. That'd be a good future
Oh yeah.
topic. For
It
those of
will.
you watching, let us know down in the comments. Do you want to see a Last of Us episode? Let me know. I'll do a quick plug. Check out gameinfinite.net/news. That's where all the articles and other stuff we drop on a regular basis go. Of course, you can check us out on Instagram at Game Infinite or on Twitter, now called X. Stupid name is at Game Infinite 10. Um, sounds like a porn site. I hate the name. I'm I just I keep calling it Twitter. I don't care. I'll be 70
It,
years old calling it Twitter.
okay. He he was told for that if you call it X, people will think it's a porn site.
It's such
He just called it X because he loves the letter X.
it's so dumb.
It
Anyways,
is.
check us out on X or Instagram. We put out regular content on all types of subjects. Creator support's a big thing that we do. If you are a creator that wants to get on the state of gaming, let me know. Definitely do this. Alrighty, I want to thank you again for joining us, man. It was great to have you. This was a super fun conversation. I needed this. It was fun. It was good to do this, and I'll see you all viewers on the next. This is Jesse with Game Infinite. I'll see you guys on the next Game Infinite video.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy.